Let me know where you're tuning in from. I have my chat page open. I'm just going to say hi, make sure that you guys can get it. Okay, it looks like it's working on my end. All right, I always know that it takes a few minutes for people to come on. I cannot post beforehand on YouTube or really on Facebook aside from the little advertisements that I do because I I stream through Restream and there's all these weird things. So when you catch it, let me know. So today we're going to talk about another topic from the Attachment Rewiring Challenge. So if you're new here, I have a school for healing trauma, and it's a spiritual healing school. So we do a lot of different cognitive therapies as well as body, mind, and spiritual healing. And so we're in the midst of the Attachment Rewiring Challenge. And there's so many different topics that go along with this challenge that you would never learn it in one sitting. So I like to do little mini experiences. And those mini experiences are just like a bite size enough for you to understand what the topic is. And then I like to jump into an oracle reading to see how that topic is playing out, and then open the floor for Q&A. So every topic that we actually have been working through is about understanding the deeper patterns that influence our emotions, our relationships, and the way that we respond to life. And so when people say that they don't understand why they keep reliving the same experiences, or they know what they should do, but they don't know why they can't do it. So today we're going to talk about something that really connects the body, the mind, and the spirit. And it is something that many people experience but don't fully understand. And that topic is how your body remembers what your mind avoids, and how dysregulation can really become, disguised a lot of times as intuition. People confuse the two. And so the problem with that is that our intuition is part of the higher self, and that higher self is a God part of self. That's what gives us discernment. That's what keeps us safe. So if we don't trust ourselves, then we become prey to people in the outside world, right? Because not everybody has the same intention for us. So we want to get strong within our connection to that higher self, because it's our connection to God. It's our connection to the source that's all knowing. So before we get actually into teaching, I want to remind you that, again, at the end of this live stream, I always do an oracle reading. I always love bringing the intuitive side into those conversations, because healing is not just about understanding ourselves mentally. It is also about connecting with our inner wisdom and recognizing what is asking to be seen and what is asking to be healed. Now, if you're someone who has ever wondered why you keep reacting the same way, why certain situations affect you more deeply than you think that they should, or why you feel like you know something but you're not sure if it's intuition or fear, then this conversation is going to be for you. One of the biggest misunderstandings about healing is that once we understand something mentally, we believe that we should be finished with it. We think that because we can explain what happened, because we know what a pattern came from, or because we have forgiven someone, that the healing is complete. But healing does not happen only in the mind. Your body has its own way of holding on to experiences. So your body remembers moments that your conscious mind may have moved past. So it remembers through your reactions, your emotions, and your nervous system responses, and the way that you protect yourself. Now, these are experiences that happened many times years ago that you may think that you don't even think about anymore, but your body is still responding to anything that even feels familiar. So it's understanding what you need to do when you feel like you're losing control, when you're losing control of your peace of mind, right? This is because your body is always trying to protect yourself. The nervous system is designed to keep you safe. It learns from experiences and it creates patterns based on what you've been through. So, this week in my attachment rewiring challenge, it's all about reconditioning the nervous system. And why this is really important is because we all get triggered by internal as well as external stimuli. So, internal stimuli is just our thoughts and our feelings. And so when something triggers us, we will respond the way that we've been conditioned to respond. And so a people pleasing and a lot of fawn responses, we know about the fight, flight, freeze. We hear about that, but very rarely do you hear about the fawn response. And the fawn response is where you abandon yourself. You are a people pleaser, and people don't understand why that happens. They may call themselves an empath. They may call themselves a wounded healer. They may call it several things. They don't understand that it's the way that the nervous system has been conditioned. So what'll happen is, like, let's just say, like, let me tell you, the challenge is really that the body does not always know the difference between what's happening now and what what is in the past, what is what the mind is reminded of, I should say. So this is why sometimes your reactions feel so much bigger, like why a trigger can be so much more like an experience really isn't that big of a deal. But if you have a wound there already, it's going to feel like, almost figure like you walk past the table and you stub your toe. It hurts. It hurts a lot. But imagine stubbing your toe every single day on the same spot. You'd want to take an axe to that table and smash it into a million pieces because it would really hurt. And so that's what happens when you've been in a karmic cycle. And a karmic cycle, one that keeps you in a place of disempowerment, one that makes you feel not good enough, not worthy, any energy that's out of alignment with your true self. And your true self is that God part of self, right? So when you've been conditioned in an environment to be a people pleaser, and that means that you have become very hyper vigilant and hyper vigilant to what's going on in the environment, which means a lot of times you're paying more attention to what's going on externally than what's going on within yourself. So we know that detachment and disassociation a lot of times comes from trauma. So, like I said, we want to be able to have control, because what'll happen is when you go through one of these experiences, you may find yourself shutting down, becoming anxious, wanting to escape, needing reassurance. You know, a lot of people don't understand how they teach people how they want to be treated. They're not aware that, again, needing the reassurance or feeling overwhelmed by something that another person does really then gets tended to be taken like as a misunderstanding, and it's because what happens over time, you believe that there's something wrong with you because you feel like you're overreacting. But it is because something inside of you has actually recognized a pattern and it's trying to protect you. This is where shadow work becomes so important, because shadow work allows us to look at the parts of ourselves that we normally avoid. So it allows us to become aware of the emotional patterns that you've been operating beneath the surface, which is really important because we're not aware. The shadow is just also parts of ourselves that we have, hid, suppressed, rejected. Sometimes the parts of you that react strongly is not trying to hurt you. It's actually trying to protect you using like an old strategy that may no longer like be really needed. This really brings us to the second part of our topic, which is dysregulation, being mistaken for intuition. Hey, Debbie. So, this is sometimes what happens, especially with people who are sensitive, empathic, spiritual, or deeply connected to their emotions. So, I don't know if you caught the beginning. This is kind of a quick little topic, um, a lot quicker than the other topics. I should say quicker, shorter. Hey, Rhino. I'm talking about like how we can become dysregulated, and dysregulated emotionally, and dysregulated due to the fact that we can confuse overstimulation for intuition. Like, so, like I said, it's not a big topic, but it's a topic from my attachment rewiring series. Like, we're in the 12-week part of the challenge. We're in the 7th week of a 12-week challenge. And this week is all about regulating the nervous system. So, why is that important? Well, because of the survival mechanism fawn. So when you say, I wind up in relationships and the person that I always wind up with disrespects me, they don't care about my needs. I tend to be the giver. I tend to be someone that seems to be hyper aware of their feelings, their needs, their wants, but I am not conscious of what's going on really within inside of me, or I am conscious, I'm ignoring what's going on within me. So why we want to recondition the nervous system is because a lot of times people get into relationships with people that are imbalanced. We don't know who we're getting into a relationship with, or who you become friends with, right? Relationships are something that happens over time. Trust is established over time through what people show us, right? So if someone shows you that they're an asshole, like over time, you're going to be like, I don't trust that person, with good reason. But if someone shows you that they're honest and they show up and then there's a sense of, you can feel safe. Dysregulation happens almost when you're like have so much stimuli going on that you become over, like, again, in the survival mode, and then it's really difficult to be able to tell whether or not it's your intuition or is it survival. And when we make decisions out of survival in a relationship, I'm talking about, where you say, well, you're offering to do things that you really shouldn't do, or you're ignoring things that you should do for yourself, where you're continuously putting someone before you because you don't want like fear of abandonment, fear of rejection, fear of really, like I said, anything having to do with abandonment. So what'll happen is something needs healing or shadow work needs to be done if you keep it. Well, that's what I'm saying. And so there are different topics for the attachment rewiring challenge. And this one happens to be like people get confused between intuition and dysregulation. And I'm explaining why that happens and why it's important to heal it. It's important to heal it because you get into a relationship, you're attracting people, but inevitably you're also teaching a person how you want to be treated. So you can attract someone that really has the best intention for you and really likes you. But if you keep abandoning yourself, then unconsciously you teach that person not to think about you at all. So if you, and remember, people that are narcissists, they go to everyone. I always say those people are like the panhandlers. They go to everybody, but what they're doing is they're seeking out the nervous system. Like, are you gonna, like, like, can I trigger you? Can I trigger your abandonment? I'm gonna talk to you 2 days or for 2 weeks straight, and then all of a sudden I'm not gonna call you for a day or 2 days. How are you gonna respond? I'm gonna start talking to somebody else. How are you gonna respond? And if you're healthy, which we know that a lot of people on my YouTube channels, they're spiritually blocked in relationships and they don't understand why. This is why I do these topics and these challenges, because there is a need. And there's a need because they don't understand. They're like, why do I keep attracting? Well, part of it is your contribution to the dynamic of the relationship. A person can be narcissistic or a jerk, but if you entertain it, so do you notice? Are you aware of what that person is doing, that they're seeking out all about you? A lot of times they're not in relationships for long periods of time because they don't trust themselves over time. Because they're like, I keep attracting the same thing. And so they don't date, and then they finally meet somebody and they give in, and then the same thing happens. And so understand it, part of that is what you're teaching. It's not just the person. So I always recommend that yes, take time to heal, but it's not how much time you stop dating. That's not the healing part. The healing part is actually seeing how you contribute to the imbalances. What are your patterns? Are you a people pleaser? Are you so nice that you're being disrespected? Are you, what needs to be reconditioned, like I said, is the nervous system, because the nervous system gets triggered through, again, it could be something as simple as a person saying, I need a favor. I need $1,200. And now a person that's a people pleaser that's dating that person now feels responsible to come up with $1,200. And they're like, but then they'll say, I'm a good person. But then they get taken advantage of because they're like, I lent somebody $1,200. It's like, well, it's like trust. And instead of just reacting, maybe finding a better solution than lending money to someone right away. That's just an example, because you say, well, how did these people get swindled out of so much money? We see it all the time on TV, right? America's Most Wanted, people married to multiple people and taking their money. I mean, thank God I don't know anyone purposely. I don't know anyone personally, but you hear about it. I know people that dated people that felt that they were taken advantage of financially, and they don't really understand why. Like I said, that happens. And then the greater problem is now that person doesn't trust themselves. They don't trust themselves intuitively. They're not, and so you can see the snowball effect where that pattern really really starts to diminish a person's self-esteem, because they keep, like I said, reliving the same. Because a lot of times, like I said, intuition is actually just an activated nervous system. This is where discernment becomes so important. There's a difference between hypersensitivity and discernment. So it's really to get a stronger connection to that higher self. And we can do meditation, you can do breath work, you can do really any theta level of meditation is going to get you to be able to access that higher self. And that's important, because only in the now do you get divine guidance. So you're not where a hyper nervous system, it never shuts off. There's never like any peace. It's just kind of just nagging all the time. So the key is not to just react, because that's another issue. And so like reaction, what your reaction is going to be if you were conditioned in a certain environment, like I said, to be a people pleaser. Like I said, you wind up taking yourself off your path because people can make you feel responsible for them due to their choices. And we see that all the time. And you can inherit somebody's karma. You can inherit somebody, you can swap destinies with someone that's broken comes into your life. You pour into them, you nurture them, you give so much to them, and then they leave. It's a spiritual law to not abandon yourself, because God lives inside of ourselves. That's what gives us spiritual sovereignty. That's what gives us life. So when we abandon ourselves, a lot of times we're not doing it even for the right reason. So it's that we say, oh, well, I'm helping that person, but you're getting joy and you're getting something, yes, but then there's always the what are you expecting in return? And people might say, I don't expect anything in return, but you wouldn't want to keep giving over time and not get anything in return. That's not human nature. Human nature is to want to be able to give and receive. Now, whether you can accept to receive, again, that goes into something completely different if you were wired in an environment where you weren't allowed to have anything, where you were made to feel that there was something wrong. Again, which a lot of times that goes hand in hand with people pleasing too, right? Because a person's people pleasing because they feel that they have to abandon themselves or give something in order to give love. So you can see how a healthy relationship would not be able to thrive, because it takes two people. Balance is that, it's not that you're getting a perfect person, but you're usually getting a person that has gifts where maybe you have blockages and vice versa. And it's all about balance. It's all about learning the higher levels of consciousness, forgiveness, perseverance, unconditional love, courage, all the higher levels of consciousness, which are Christ consciousness. For us to be able to embody that consciousness, we can't embody that consciousness if we are continuously abandoning ourselves, because then we're actually going against the whole purpose of why we're here, which is to be the energy of love by becoming love. But if we're feeling responsible for other people and abandoning ourselves because we were wired in a certain environment, well, then you can see you're not going to, you can't manifest. You can't manifest anything that you would really want. So it's really important that to understand that your sensations are real, your experiences are real, but the meaning that you attach to those feelings is where like things get a little diluted. Like that's where we need to become really conscious, because a lot of times we see things through the perception of our wounds, or not seeing things as clearly. So when your nervous system is dysregulated, your body goes into protection mode. It begins looking for possible problems. That's what it likes to do. It begins scanning for signs that should, or like not should, but could hurt you. And it begins trying to predict what might happen, which means that you're no longer present. You're no longer in the body. You're waiting. And we tend to see what we look for. So that protective state really can feel like a knowing, right? Like I know, where it can feel like a certainty. It can feel like you are like receiving a message, but sometimes what you're really feeling is not information about what's going on in the present. Sometimes it's information about something that's unresolved within inside of you. This is why people can find themselves repeating the same relationship patterns. They may feel deeply connected to someone because the person activates something familiar. They may believe a situation is meant to be because it creates a powerful emotional response. But familiarity and alignment are not always the same thing. Sometimes our nervous system is drawn towards what it recognizes, not what's healthy, especially if you grew up. Sometimes someone needs healing or shadow work needs to be done, if you would. Sis, I feel like I'm missing um, comments. Sorry. I don't know if I am or not. So you'll have to let me know. Um, but it's to understand again why you would be repeating the same type of relationships, and what you would need to do. Really, you begin to need you have to begin to ask yourselves questions like, what is the feeling that I'm connected to? Is this something from a place of like clarity, or is it a place coming from fear? Are you responding to what is actually happening, or are you responding to what this is reminding you of, right? See, those questions create awareness, and awareness gives you ability to choose differently. True intuition does not panic to get your attention. It doesn't require you to rush, obsess, or lose your sense of yourself. This is usually a grounded quality to true inner knowing. Dysregulation often feels different. It feels urgent. It makes you feel like you need to figure everything else right now, like immediately. And that's usually when people do stuff that they shouldn't do. It can make you search for answers outside yourself because you're trying to create a sense of safety. And this is why regulation of the nervous system is such an important part of the attachment rewiring challenge, because attachment is not only about who we connect with, it's also about what your body has learned to expect from connection. Now, if your body learned that love comes with uncertainty, uncertainty may feel familiar. If your body learned that you have to earn love, you may find yourself constantly proving your worth. And so again, that's what winds up happening when you're in a relationship, and it's all subconscious triggering that's making you do it. So if your body learned that emotional highs and lows and are actually normal, well, obviously then peace is going to feel uncomfortable, and healing doesn't feel good. You have to rewire yourself. And that's why the work isn't again about blaming yourself for these patterns. The work is about understanding them so you can begin creating something different. Healing happens when the mind, body, and spirit begin to work together. The mind brings awareness and understanding. The body learns that it does not have to stay stuck in old patterns, where the spirit reconnects you with your deeper sense of self and your inner wisdom, your higher self, that intuition, that claircognizance, which is really spiritual knowing, which we all have, because we all can get it randomly. But the whole point is you're supposed to be able to access that whenever you need to, not just, oh, I had a vision that I'd see Aunt Mary today, and I ran into Aunt Mary. Like that's because you're clear, your mind is open, you're not thinking about anything. But when we're stressed out, then that's when these patterns come out. That's when you're going to really need to make sure that like you're grounded. So you're saying you tend to overanalyze everything and be pessimistic about your relationships when really there's any confusion in any connection. Yeah, yeah, and then you cut it off right away. So that's like, I knew this girl that I told her one time. I said, your cutoff game like isn't doesn't show strength. It shows trauma response, because when you cut someone off so fast, it's like, I don't trust you. Like, where if there's a reason, if there's a reason, we can do that. But I'm talking about like friendship, a friendship that is lasted for like 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. Something happens, she cuts that person off. Where, you know, eventually relationships get tested. They just do. Because how do you think God grows the soul? Grows the soul through experiences. That's why staying together in marriages, when people say, I've been married for like 20 years, 30 years, that's, it's not that they never had a fight. It's not that they never, it's because it took understanding, it took patience, it took, all these energies of, that I always say, to embody that Christ consciousness. That's what it takes, right? To to actually be in a good relationship of any sort. And trauma makes you not care about that. Trauma that makes you only care about your own needs because you don't feel safe. When meanwhile, safety doesn't come from trusting yourself or trusting someone else. It comes from trusting God and having a good connection to, again, that higher self, that God part of self. But if you're overstimulated, then again, and now you're dysregulated, you're interpreting your intuition as, but as that, where it's not that. There's a calmness, there's a call to action when it's your real claircognizance coming through. And it's your real claircognizance, it's a discernment. It's telling you like what the problem is and what the solution is. There's never any guessing. There's never, if you're too close up to the picture, then you may be saying, well, then I can't determine whose energy is whose, whether it's that person's energy or whether it's my energy. And I'm afraid that I'm going to give too much or I'm not safe. Again, it's like not having control over your energy. And that energy, negative energy, begins to bleed out in other areas of your life because what the universe will give you is what you need. So what you're showing is I'm not really that strong within myself. So you're always going to get experiences that are going to make you stronger. And those usually are not real pleasant experiences. It's usually, again, having to deal with difficult people or just difficult situations. So that's why it's more about getting a better connection to the physical body, because as I said in the beginning of this, your body has been conditioned so you can heal your mind, but your body is not on board with that new information, and it still has been conditioned, so you have to recondition it. So when people have been disconnected and disassociated for so long due to trauma, they hold on to a cognitive dissonance. And that's, I want it, but I don't. That's when their head and the heart are fighting, right? So when the body, mind, and spirit are in alignment, what's giving that alignment is really our connection to God. Because people, we don't have control over the people that come into our life or really even what happens in the environment. We have to be strong within ourselves so we can go with the flow of life instead of trying to control life. Like if your cutoff game is that fast, it also then is saying, well, then, your other things are usually off too. And so it's again just about getting stronger within yourself. And that you'd be like, so then I get strong within my, that's never going to happen. It would happen if you reconditioned your nervous system through breath work, through body mind work, through doing the challenges. Because again, I have a 7-day fawn challenge, and there's vagus nerve exercises, which will get you right out of fight flight. We do a lot of other healing modalities, such as tapping. We do breath work and lots of others to help recondition the nervous system. And that's it's not a one and done. This is something that needs to be done like every day or every other day. You need to at least get into the practice really every day if your nervous system, if you're like, I don't trust myself. And then it's also about living life. My Shadow Healing Life Coaching program, it's not just about healing, it's also life coaching, because a lot of people do stay on the healing path and their life never changes. And that's because they're still disconnected from their path. They're still disconnected from, other things. So that's what it is. Well, through somatic healing teaches you that you don't have to revisit a trauma to release the trauma that's held within your body. You have to do exercises, because if you may say, well, I've already healed that, I've already did the healing work, the shadow integration, I understand my contribution to why things look the way that they do, but my body is still responding. And a body response that has lived in survival mode for long periods of time would be an overactive immune system. You'd see, again, from living in survival mode, you'd see digestion problems, you'd see other issues over time, mainly because of the spiritual issue, but it's held within the body. So by doing those exercises, you're releasing that energy. So it's not all the time that you got to go back and do anything else. It's just a habit. And so it's understanding that your mind can say, no, I really don't want to offer to take Barbara Ann to the grocery store, or I don't want to visit mom, or I don't want to do something. And you can say, I really don't. But then that person calls and then you still feel obligated, and then you give in. And then there's a sense of, I'm annoyed, I'm pissed off now because I feel like I have to do it. And we all tend to have that a little bit when it comes to our parents, or when it comes to people that we care about. But when we have that response all the time, and to people that we just met, that we building a new relationship with, that's when things become really imbalanced. That's when, again, what makes us not trust ourselves, not trust our intuition. And like I said, without healing that energy that's held within the body, it's very difficult to be able to tell the difference. So there is a healing process, and that's to see how did you contribute to whatever the imbalance is. What's the core belief? That's where the cognitive therapy comes into place. But then the actual healing of the body, is that and you can do that by starting with the challenges, because you do it at your own pace and it's simple. I mean, the exercises are really simple to start off, and because I want you to be able to live your life and integrate while you're living your life, which you can do. It's like people are like, oh, well, I'm healing. It's like, I need to take 5 months off to heal. No, you don't. You need to be able to live life and function and be able to see the results as you're living, because otherwise you don't heal, because healing is not just in the mind. You have to embody a whole other consciousness. So does anyone have any questions about this topic? Because otherwise I'm going to jump into the oracle reading, because really, like I said, it's not it's not really about anything except for becoming more aware of yourself, because every trigger really is an opportunity to understand something deeper. Every reaction is an opportunity to bring something into awareness. Every pattern really is an opportunity to choose something new. And that this work that we're doing in the attachment rewiring challenge, and the work that's done in my life coaching school, well, we're not just looking at what happens on the surface. We're looking at the deeper patterns underneath, and the places where our emotions, our body, and our experiences are still influencing the way that we live and what is manifesting. So it's a big deal. So now we're going to, like I said, do the oracle reading. And I want you to hold this one question with you as we do that. What is your body trying to show you that your mind has been avoiding? So I want you to think about that question. And you might not come up with anything today, but think about it during the week. And I'm sure, because if you really feel to really heal, you can reach out and ask me a question. Check out again the life coaching school. It's available right through the platform school, and the challenges are free. I designed the coaching program to take the educational teachings and apply them directly to your own patterns. So your own healing and your own transformation, because awareness is really just the beginning, but true healing really happens when you're willing to meet yourself honestly and do the deeper work, and a lot of times that's by doing the coaching, because the coaching is every day. I made it so it's affordable group coaching that feels like it's individualized. But I like it because of the community. It's really important that I would build a healing community, because a lot of people feel like they don't have anyone to vent to. They go through experiences and they feel lonely, and they're looking kind of a little bit for a social life, but they're also looking to heal and to better their life. And what better way than to do online coaching, group coaching? Because when I've had it before through Patreon, people really, they connected with each other. They gave their advice. One guy actually got served divorce papers while we were on one time. And, he had the whole support of the group. It's just, it helps, because you can't, or you shouldn't, go into new relationships and tell the new relationship everything about a previous relationship that didn't work out. You want a person to not have any perception one way or the other, so that they can make a decision based on what you what you show them, not really what you tell them, what you show them. And what you should show them is the best version of yourself, so that if they can't, so that what that looks like. When you're giving your best self, you can tell when someone's not. And if they're not, you can cut it off without emotionally getting connected. A lot of times people get caught up in the fantasy bond. They fall in love with a version of a person that doesn't even exist. So we're looking at the underlining energy here, and this is omnipresent, right? Omniscience, sorry, and fear. And omniscience is God. It's everywhere. It's ubiquitous. And fear is actually the exact opposite energy. So the underlining energy, I feel like you're connected to someone that there is unconditional love, but there's also a lot of fear around the relationship. And that happens obviously because of previous relationships. So let's look at some hidden truths. I feel like someone may want to contact you, but they're afraid. They don't really know what to say, what to do. So let's see the underlining energy. You don't know how hard it was to let you go. I replay our old conversations over and over. And I know I was a distraction from your pain. I look for you everywhere. I feel like this person might be attached to somebody else. And a person that's attached to somebody else, well, I say that only because it's like they didn't want to let you go. And also you're too good for me. And I say that because they think that they were a distraction from whatever you were going through. Otherwise, you wouldn't. of giving them the time. And I also feel like this person does want to see you, but they don't want to call you. They don't want to seem that vulnerable, but they also, and I really feel like it's because they were connected to someone else. They still could be connected to somebody else, you know, and so they couldn't have their cake and eat it too. So it's almost like this person like hopes that they can run into you, and partially is because if they can bump into you, then they can see whether or not you still have feelings or not. They can read the situation better, and then also they feel like they won't have to rehash whatever they did in the past. They can just kind of be like, "Hey, stranger," like be like that instead of uh because this energy is there is unconditional love, but that's like it could be like just like past life karmic mate. And I say that because whenever there's a lot of fear where this person, like, I think is living in fear, and they're living in fear because they're with somebody else that they don't really want to be with. And I say that because why would they even be looking to bump into you? It's like they're looking to bump into you because I feel like they made a wrong turn, meaning they had an opportunity to be in a relationship with you or stay where they were. They were planning on leaving, they'd wound up staying, and that's a relationship. And I've been getting that lately on my channel. I just have to let you know. So it's like it really like ridiculous. Let's pick a different deck of cards. I'm afraid of losing you. I wish you knew how grateful I am to have met you. And I have unwittingly sabotaged our connection. So again, they didn't really mean to sabotage the connection. I feel like this person, I don't know. I really do feel like that they were planning on leaving, whatever that situation was. But almost feel like they got pulled back in somehow, and that this person, like, is that strong still soulmate connection. However, they're connected to somebody else, but I feel like the fact that they experience love or that they can have that connection. So when a person's in a relationship that's more like a sham or a connection that looks good on the outside but isn't good on the good, well, this person longs for love, and the fact that they had a connection and that they can have a connection. I feel like this person didn't think that they could have love. Like, this is what relationships are. Just over time, past person keeps popping up in the reads. Yeah, or maybe. Oh, Mercury Lemonade is over. I hope so, because I'm tired of this story. And like where it's this person's like grateful that they've met you, but they're connected to someone else. So, and we could say, well, this isn't me. Well, whoever's connected to you then is the people pleaser too, because they're in a connection with someone that they don't really want to be in. I also feel like they at one time thought that they were going to have their cake and eat it too. And now what they're seeing is that that's not really what's going to happen here. And they're working on the courage to contact you. They're going through a spiritual awakening because and understand inevitably they want a second chance. Didn't I tell you? I said that this person still had feelings, and that's why partially it's, I don't know how much you know. I don't know like what, I don't really want to revisit anything. I want to see you. I want to see whether you still have feelings or not, because inevitably I want a second chance. But I'm not going to call you and ask for the second chance. I'm going to bump into you and act like absolutely nothing transpired, because I don't really want to visit that, because if I visit that, well, then, I don't want to say anything that's going to make you be like, go take a hike, because that literally, that's pretty much what you would do if they chose to be like with somebody else, and now they want to come back. They want to pretend like it was a misunderstanding. They want to pretend that you misunderstood, and so that's a lie. And also understand it's like, yeah, they see their mistake now, but they don't really. How do you get out of that? You can't really get out of it. And so that's the issue. They they want that. There's a part of them that doesn't want to look at the past, but we want to look at the past because we want to see like what it was like to be in a connection with this person. That's what we want, because I kind of feel like they didn't give you enough, to even be in a relationship. It's wishful thinking. I feel like there was a time that you really like wanted to be like with this person, but it's like you got tired reading between the lines. Like this person like leaves information out of their situation. That's what they do. It's like it becomes very one-sided. This person wears a little bit of a mask. They cover shit up by leaving information out, so you can't really make the correct decisions for yourself, and that's the thing. I also feel like the relationships was turbulent. It was like we make up to break up. Like it's always like you felt like you were in tug of war with this person. Like they didn't make it easy. And that's because, hey, they were in a relationship with somebody else, or I shouldn't say that they were supposedly getting out, but nevertheless, they didn't get out. So there was still an attachment there. So how can that relationship truly flourish? So they made it really difficult, but you always like their secret desire. Like that's the thing. It's like they just have a hard time being vulnerable due to past relationships. And I just feel like they tend to get caught up in the romance, and so again, it winds up feeling more like a fling than anything else, because this person like wasn't really able to give anything. So it's like they get caught up in the romance and promise a lot of things and do a lot of things, and then what happened is that wasn't 100% finished, and then they decided to stay or get bamboozled to stay somehow, and then they chose to stay, and now it's like, how the hell am I going to come back because I realized I made the wrong decision? The person already burned the bridge. It's a done deal. Can't take this person back. Like, I mean, and they know it, and that's why they're upset. That's why during retrograde, you're absolutely right. I know they always come back during retrograde. I forgot that. It's like, because it's like they haven't changed. Person will pretend that they've changed, but they haven't changed. And that's because if they really changed, they wouldn't want to bump into you. They would want to like pick up the phone and say, hey, can we talk? They would come at you straight and take responsibility, but they don't want to do that. They want to leave pieces of their information out. They don't really know, for all you know, they still can have that person that's attached to them. And like, where I kind of feel like that's not 100%. Like if you were to say, yeah, I want to be with you, they would drop that person like a hot potato. You don't want to be with a person that would actually do that to somebody else, because they would have no problem doing it to you. They're doing it because they're not happy, and they're like, oh, well, like this is a better choice for me, instead of like really putting the time, and that's the thing. This person feels you. They check on you from afar, so they're a stalker, like I said. They're like, if they were really straight, they were really like, they would come to you and they would say, hey, listen, this is what it is. I was pretending to be someone that I'm not. You're always on my mind. So at the time, it was a one-sided relationship. I ask again, did this person just as like I'm on my way back. Like they want to feel out the situation. It's like they would inevitably, like I said, want to be in a relationship, but it's like they know that they burnt this already to the ground. They don't know whether it can fix it. They don't know, what you'll tolerate, what you'll put up with, which is why they want to bump into you. It's again, and when they had the chance, it's like they didn't really know what they wanted. Sometimes being comfortable in a relationship that you don't really have to show up for is easy. This person was able to stay in a low energy, and that means talk to other people and do other things and that needs to be thought about too, because why wouldn't this person make the choice? Why would they stay in that? Well, they stayed in that because they could again stay in a lower energy. That relationship's a sham. So it looks a certain way on the outside, but everyone's cheating and no one really cares. And it's not, they care, but I should say it's more like guilt, like trauma bond, like person that it's not a healthy connection anymore. And so could you imagine being a people pleaser for this person? No, when you were with them, this person is just very slow to act, and they're still slow to act. And that part of that is because I don't know what you know, and it's almost like acting like you would be too fragile, but I feel like it's really the last straw. And that's really what it is. It's like they know it's either going to work this time or it's not. It's like, I'm going to bump into you. I'm going to feel you out. I'm going to see what you know, what you don't. I'm going to see whether I have a second chance with you. If I have a second chance with you, then I'll go back and I'll drop that person and I'm going to come back for you. That's how this person operates. They won't close that door, though, to that situation before they know that it's an okay with you, which means it's going to create drama, unnecessary drama, like right at your doorstep. And this person's selfish. They don't care. They don't care what's going on in your life. They don't care. Again, they only care about themselves. They may say that they have strong feelings for you, but infatuation and a fantasy bond is not a real relationship. You know, relationships is something that happens over time. Trust is something that happens over time. That's how you know person didn't want to do that. They're going to say, oh, I was tricked, I was captured. They weren't. They were allowed to stay in that relationship and date other people. And that's what they wanted to do. It was easier. It was all those things. Now they're not happy. Hey. So we have to say, I mean, why would you attract this person into your life? And then, I always open up the floor, like you guys can ask me questions. But the topic today, we were like looking at the difference between intuition and dysregulation, and then seeing how it plays out in in the reading. And thank God it's not with you, but it's like the person that's connected to you, I believe. However, you would attract this person that was like not capable of giving really anything. So we look at your inner child wounds, right? And we see belittled, we see safety and security, we see unworthy, time and attention, source, and inner authority, right? So those are your inner child wounds. And so obviously if you have a parent that makes you feel unworthy because they're belittled how they talk to you, you don't feel safe, you don't feel secure. And if there's no time and attention, the only time and attention is when you're being belittled, or talked to or made to feel bad about yourself. Well, child then detaches, and believe it or not, they wind up getting very strong intuition because they're by themselves. They're being neglected. It's again feeling unworthy. They wind up going deep inside of themselves. Do they trust that intuition? Well, that's a different story. But I feel like that's something that winds up getting cultivated over time. And so, because we see source, that's sort of, they have a good connection to source, and that's what happens when child feels abandoned, when they feel, that they're not protected. Well, they're going to detach. They're going to go into imagination land. They're going to go into like that realm. And that's the connection of spirit. That's where spirit is, right? How do you manifest? Through the thoughts that you think, the emotions that you have, your imagination. If you can imagine it, you create it. Well, that's where your supernatural energy is. That, again, when we become strong within ourselves and get confidence, well, then it's really our inner authority begins to lead. And I feel like you always had strong intuition. I feel like you didn't listen to it a lot because you were made to feel not to, especially if you were belittled. Bullied by a parent is the worst, because when you're bullied by a parent, you tend to continue to meet that bully everywhere where you go. It's like it winds up happening, and it's because what we resist persists. You'll always get the same experiences over and over and over and over and over again until you handle it differently. See, God's all knowing. We're not all knowing. We get stuck in a perception, and that perception is based on an experience or what we were taught or somebody else, whatever, but it's a perception. And so healing really comes when we're able to integrate that um, that perception, and that's by just seeing yourself differently. And it's not just seeing. You have to really, like seeing in your head. You have to really embody the new consciousness to heal it. When we talked about that within today's show, that's why healing is really important, where people feel like they can't because of an inner critic happens when a lot of times when a person's got bullied, then what happens is they take that same talk, that same, abusive talk, they begin to turn on themselves, right? And so that's when you do that, you're programming your mind and you wind up living from that experience. And then when you see is, it's not that you didn't try and like do spiritual healing, but then what happens is people tend to uh, spiritual bypass, and it shows up as like avoiding pain and trauma by like relying on positivity and affirmations and not really going that deep within the healing. I mean, we see a lot of pseudo healing, which is, oh, I'm not saying that affirmations over time are not going to heal, but if you have severe trauma that's in your nervous system, it's like you have to rewire your body, like the way that your body responds. It's not just in the mind. That's what real shadow work is. Thanks, Rhino, for stopping by and catching up. And so what comes is codependency wounds. So, codependency makes you feel as if there's something wrong with you, goes back to feeling unworthy, feeling not good enough. So, and really just taking all those beliefs that were, said to you in childhood and taking them as truth. So that's why you would attract a person like that into your life, because there's only two energies, love and fear. So if you're like, well, now I don't trust myself because you're codependent, and codependency really is there's something that's broken or something that's missing, and I like that person because I perceive they can give me or enhance me. They're my other half. So people say, oh, you're twin flame, but that's not a twin flame. Your twin flame is somebody that, first of all, is in the divine energy. And that means that they're ready to do the work. It's like they understand what they've done and what needs to be healed. It doesn't mean that they know how to heal it. You're getting your twin flame because that person holds you accountable, and the fact that they love you. This person is not a twin flame. They are a karmic mate. There's someone that should have learned the lesson. They didn't learn the lesson. They don't want to learn the lesson because of how, and we say that because of, look how they're planning on leaving that person that they're connected to. A divine person doesn't do that. And they would leave appropriately. They wouldn't come in and just try and pop up on you. They would pick up the phone and or drive over to your house, or like make it, like put effort in. This person's still afraid to be vulnerable. They're still afraid to be transparent. So they're not a real. They're a counterfeit. Hey again. So I did, like about to wrap up this session because we were seeing, but I always open the floor. Um, but we are seeing what you can do to heal, like because we see why you would attract that person into your life, right? If you're not, if you feel like there's something wrong, like rejection wound, like you're going to be rejected. But I feel like it was more again the, like if you were belittled and the way that you were talked to, the way that you were treated, the way that you were programmed in childhood, you wouldn't recognize, like you wouldn't recognize the patterns and the patterns within that person. So, the fact that, like I said, how they're planning on coming in, how they're planning on like strategizing. They're not in their heart, they're in their head, they're strategizing. So it's just like I said, divine energy is not that. So it's being awareness, but it's also about, reconditioning your nervous system, because a person like that can come in and try and overstimulate you. And if you're overstimulated, you may again feel bad for this person and feel like I should help this person, and it feels really right to help this person, but your mind knows that that person hasn't changed, that they really don't want to do the work. If anything, they would like, you to carry the relationship, because the person that would leave that previous person the way that they're planning on leaving them, tells us that is that they're, because the person that comes in super fast to throw your whole equilibrium off, they get you caught up in the emotion. And that's why today's topic was important, because of that, how this person in this reading is planning on coming back and trying to gonna get a reaction. Either I'm gonna get a reaction one way or the other. Either you're gonna react and say, get out of my life, and where you might act crazy, and then they can say that you're crazy, and then they're like, okay, I don't care, like that you're not with me. It justifies why they did what they did. Or you're going to feel bad for them and take into consideration, because again, this person says, well, I figured you out based on your patterns. And that's what a narcissist does, by the way. So when we say that empaths attract narcissists, it's not that they attract narcissists. Those people go to everybody. It's that the empath doesn't recognize the patterns, and that they have been programmed to be a people pleaser. It's in their, it's how they were wired, how they were conditioned, and the core beliefs that really need to be healed and integrated, because we know that the spiritual issues are always the psychological and the emotional aspects. But then there's the whole embodying the whole other consciousness that needs to be done. And so that's why, that because I was like, why this person hasn't even been in the reading, because this person is like looking to come back and looking to like, come back and not really care one way or the other. It's like they're looking for new supply. It's like, and that, yes, they will think that they have feelings for you, but a fantasy bond is not you, like I said, so it doesn't count because of that. They're going to say, I still think about you. I can see us getting back together again. Any deck, like I said, that I pull from is telling me that that's what they think. And Spirit says, so that's why you got that person. And it's about preparing for it, and you prepare your nervous system for it. And then it's also by, I'm going to pull 6. I'm going to pull 6, and then we're going to also pull from, I have 2 other decks somewhere. Right in front of my face. I would like to pull, like, what should we focus on and what should we be empowered by. Oh, we're going to pull 3 and 3. And like I said, if anyone has any questions, you can feel free to put it in the comment bar. So it's funny because it's like, it's saying, I feel like it's a time for healing, but a time for healing. I say that because it tells us to, like, empower us, but empower us, is that empower? Focus on music and focus on your craft, like your crafts. So art and music to focus on. So something creative, something that you're doing creatively, something that you want to do creatively, and maybe use music like to, like, heal yourself, or if that's your hobby or if that's your interest. And Spirit saying what is truly best for you is best for everyone involved. So when you hold boundaries for yourself, when you take care of yourself, really that's best. It's not best that you fix somebody. It's not best that you help somebody that doesn't really want to help themselves. Yes, they'll have to pay the consequences, but that's really what's best. Spirit saying focus on your stuff. Focus on something that is going to give you emotional happiness. Don't focus on that person's feelings, like, which is the person, like I said, is going to try and make you feel responsible. And when people make you feel responsible for their choices, for their life, this is how they destiny swap. So it's going to take internal strength, but I also feel like getting a better connection to the body also, because you don't want to just react or respond. Whatever tools or skills or abilities that you need to accomplish your life's purpose, Spirit says they're already available to you. They're already inside of you. So maybe, again, focus more on your craft. And if you're saying, no, I don't know what that is, Spirit saying it's like, invest more in yourself. You will. Your willingness to learn new things will eliminate the agony of resisting. So, part of that is when we're on our soul's path, we have to surrender to the process. We tend to resist the process. And Spirit says part of you going out and learning and bettering yourself allows you to, again, not focus on those things, allows you to focus on where you want to go, what you want to do, what you want to achieve, not what you're afraid might happen, what you're afraid could happen. Spirit says you have to surrender to the process, and you find your balance through that. So also by looking at things differently, by saying, like, acknowledge what you've, like, gone through and know that you're strong. And Spirit saying, again, I pulled that twice, fierce strength, like fierce strength. And that is, you don't need to raise your voice. You don't need to, your presence is strong. Spirit says it's time for you to go out into the unknown. Open your heart to the new. This is where we call for exploration. That's where you can find yourself. new versions of yourself that are going to help you see yourself for who you are today, not for who you were. Like I said, people can make you feel bad. It can bring up, parts of you from the past and say, well, this is what you're supposed to do. When really, it's like Spirit saying, evoke your curiosity to discover new aspects of life. But it's your own life, not just that. It's like you don't know enough about yourself. This was just a stepping stone to help you on your evolutionary process. And we will pull one more and then I'll answer questions, because I just read something of your neighbor killed your cat and threatened your life. That's, I'm trying to stay on course with the reading, and I'm like, what? Like from your comments in in here, like we'll get to that. It was like, what? And Spirit saying, hey, Carol. And so we look and we see peace. Be unwavering in the face of fear. Come to your senses and embrace your challenges. Be determined to think with gentleness and calm, and you find your inner silence and you become a manifestation of peace. And that's by, again, getting stronger within yourself, because that's where that higher self. You like my background? This is just a tapestry. Just a tapestry. So do you have any questions? I have to read Brit's Loves. So you all know that if you've been having problems with your relationships, to sign up for the Attachment Rewiring Challenge, that it's free, and it's free to participate, and it's a do at your own rate, meaning like you have free time, that's when you do it. And it's really simple. The exercises in the beginning are really simple. So it's because in the beginning it's about awareness, it's interrupting, triggers and thought patterns, and becoming aware of those thought patterns, and then it's reconditioning the nervous system. And we even start easy on that, but then we move deeper into other healing modalities that are a little bit more challenging. But I wouldn't start off doing like a deep pranayama breath. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do like we start off doing something like box breath. That's really easy, but it's great tool to help regulate your nervous system. So let's see. What is Brit saying here? It says you're exposing your whole life tribe now, and you have why are you telling us this? What is the whole point in telling us this information, Brit? I just want to understand. Like you filed an unlimited lawsuit. Why are you telling us all this? Like, what is the whole point of the conversation? Right after 3 years NARC relationship, you've been fighting for your house against your tribe, retaliating with fraud and forgery against your tribe. After I asked for a plan to ensure my safety but you've had to do all this. That's like drama. That's a lot of drama. That's a lot of drama, like on your house. I'm sorry that you're going through it. Does anyone have any questions about anything? Anything at all? Were you asking me because you want to know like what's going to happen? Oh, you're asking me, thank you. How do you make all this stop being thrown at you? I feel like it's like what you feed, meaning like, listen, it's like no one's telling you to walk away from your house, but like the past people that did whatever, it's like, do you think that you could move into that house and be happy now? or are you planning on selling the house after? Because I feel like it's the story and be like and everything that connects you to those people. It's like, and what you're pretty much saying is it's not stopping and no one's helping me. That's what I heard from this. Like a neighbor killed your cat and threatened your life, and you've had to do everything on your own. So those are like big, obviously karmic themes there, where you're like in survival mode, and you have to say, okay, so why, like, how did the people get your house? Like, what happened there? It's like people can't just come in and take your house. So were you in a relationship and you lost the house? Your tribe is trying to kick you out, making you homeless for reporting them after your neighbor killed the cat. So I feel like obviously that your tribe really isn't, any people that are willing to make you homeless is not your tribe. They might have pretended to be friendly with you. They could have, it could have been like we all have them. They're pretend friends. They're frenemies, and there are people that are friends with you when it's convenient for them to be friendly with you. Because, like you said, people that are just willing to throw you out, there are not friends to me. Your Native American tribe. Well, I feel like it's I feel like that's part of it. It's like I said, your thing is that you identify so much with your tribe. And so a lot of times self-respect um, comes from like having your unique individuality, and sometimes going against the tribe. If you're going to live within the tribe, you have to live and obey by the tribe rules. So you may say, I really love the tribe, but I don't like part of their rules. Well, then that's going to be a problem, because the majority is the tribe. You're just one person. So, you know, they probably want to live in peace. And the being that, the neighbor killed your cat, and now they're like, you didn't make it peaceful. So those to me is like, are they really friends? Because they're not looking at things from your perception. So you have to make a choice. What's more important, to be comfortable, or to say, well, um, I'm going to try and mend the relationship? Because listen, if you were going to try and mend the relationship, they would continue. You have and do. They broke their own rule by letting a permanently banned dangerous person back on. Yeah, I've been hearing that story for a long time, but nevertheless, the majority wins is what they showed you. And that happens a lot of times. Like, you can belong to a club and the club could say you're only allowed to be out 3 times. But then you notice that there's a lot of people that are out a lot more than 3 times. It's like, because sometimes they're like, well, it depends on the situation. If a person's job is in related to like whatever, or if they were sick, or if there's, so they had whatever their reasoning was. And that's, so I think it was to ask them why that was, and they would probably tell you, and it's like the majority wins. You get to become a part of the rewiring challenge. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to get you the link. I'm going to put it right in the bottom here so that you guys can get it. And I'm not saying that it was fair, Britt. I'm not. I feel like it's crappy that happening. You've been dealing with that for a really long time. But what I'm saying is, it's like sometimes you have to go along with that tribe and eat like what the majority holds. And there's nothing that you can really do about that. You know, is what I'm feeling. It's like you have to make a really uncomfortable choice. Either I'm going to stay here, which I kind of feel like you shouldn't. You shouldn't stay there because you've been dealing with this for so long. It's like, and what you see is that they're not budging and they're not changing. And you're like, well, I don't want to leave either. And I don't think that it's right that you should have to leave. But nevertheless, it comes down to how long do you want to live like this? Because we've been talking about this issue for over a year. And it's because you said you've had to do everything yourself. And so, would it be that difficult? And you know what I mean? Like, would everything be that difficult to just walk away and start over? Like I know that's what you said, that you filled a loyal student and that you've gotten no help. Like, it's devoured your life, is what I'm saying. And so you have to ask yourself, what's more important? Like, to live in the tribe or to be happy? I feel like it's still a long time. March, really? I feel like we were talking about this before March. Really? March, April, May, June, July, 5 months. So I mean, you have to ask yourself, how long are you willing to put up with it? Like, I mean, because 5 months really isn't that long. It's not. It's like, but I know that you've talked to me about it like a few times. Yeah, so it's almost like you have to kind of deal with it and not feed it, or stay at a friend's house, or like rent a room, or do what you have to do. Like, it's like it's an impossible situation. Is like what you're saying, because you're like, I don't have the money to move, and like, I have to wait for the lawsuit, and I'm going through. I think that you'll win the lawsuit, at least. That's not like a question in my mind, but it's still like, oh God, it's going to take a long time, and that's the issue. It's not that. It's like, do you want to be miserable during the time? And the only way that you would not be miserable is to keep yourself busy, and to not really be around, not really be at home until this goes finishes. But that's tiring, so too. But that's, your mind can't be in two places at one time. Like, you're thinking about it and feeding it, and that's what they pretty much feel like. Well, you'll get uncomfortable enough, will make you leave on your own, because that's a tactic that people like to do also. But if you keep your mind busy, they can't really do that. So it's still dealing with the other bullshit. I think you'll win. I know that you'll win, but do I see this wrapping up soon? No. Like, that's the thing, because I feel like these people have money too, that they're that to fight. So, because they don't really want to budge, and so now you've made enemy, and that's like, when you're like one going up against the entire tribe. It's like, that's an impossible situation that you're saying. How do I deal with it? It's like, well, you can stay at someone else's house. You can, like, stay, like move into like a one room, do like what you need to do, which might actually help your case, to be like, I was so miserable and it was so horrible, I had to like move even though I couldn't afford it. It also depends on how uncomfortable do you want to be. Which uncomfortable do you want to be? Do you want to be uncomfortable if you move out and you don't really know where you're going, and not financially? Or can you like learn to shut these people off and not really care? And that's the option that it sounds like you want to go with, which is, I just don't want to care, like, because I can't move and I have to like live in this environment. And that's then to keep your mind busy and focus on other things. But it doesn't mean that that's not going to antagonize them and that they're not going to continue to try. You don't have control over them. You only have control over you, which why I said is the only real thing that you could do is move. It's like, or stay at a friend's house. Well, you rewire like, again, the way that you feel by like your nervous system. But if you're around somebody and you can't really rewire yourself because you're living in a situation that keeps you in a state of uncomfortable, of survival. So it's going to be really hard to recondition that because you're living in the situation. So, but you say you need to rewire, and I feel I needed to stand up for myself, and I feel like you did need to stand up for yourself, but you got to know that there's consequences, and it's like, and yes, it seems so unfair, but sometimes we have to look around and say, like, well, people could be 1,000% wrong, and like we get put into those situations where people like or could be 100% like wrong, and if you're going to react like a crazy person or retaliate with such harshness, it's like, where is what I feel like happened. See, sometimes it's like that's what people want you to do. They want you to react so that you look like the bad guy. You look like the bad guy because they invited someone back, and instead of maybe sitting down and talking about it and writing a letter and doing things in a civil manner, you were like, I'm not even going to go. I'm going to ask you once. I'm going to ask you twice. Now I'm going to go straight to, you know, that. So obviously you're going to get retaliation. So it's a choice. Yes, you did want to do that, and that wasn't a wrong choice, but what at the expense of where you live, you have to use discernment. So it's one of those situations like having a boss that's an asshole that makes you feel like crap about yourself every day, and you go in and you want to just quit. But if you quit, you're not going to be able to pay your rent. So you have to use discernment, which would be, well, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to set everything up first, and then I'm going to tell you off, and or I'm going to report you, and then I'm going to do what I need to do to punish you, and then I'm out because there's no repercussions. But now, being that you're living in the situation and you stood up for yourself, unfortunately, that's also a karmic theme. Like when people find themselves getting belittled and bullied for, standing up for themselves when you're like, well, I didn't even do anything wrong. It's about having the discernment of who you're dealing with, because you don't have control over what they do. But it's also knowing, well, this is the type of people that they are. They're very clanny when it comes to their own people, and that's one thing that you'll know. And so even though that person might have been dangerous and a bad person, it was still one of theirs apparently, and they're extremely loyal. So it's like, if you're not going to be loyal, then it's like you're on the other side. So it's also knowing who you're dealing with. You know, that's the issue. You know, Debbie, we already talked about what's up next for you. That you're supposed to be working on yourself. That like it can do reading every day, and it's not going to show me something like different. Like oh, today they showed up in your life. You know, I know you've been working on self love, but I want to know, like, what have you went to California, or no, you didn't go to California. You went to like Texas. No, you live in Texas. Live in Texas. and you liked Texas. You visited California, and um, you weren't really crazy about it. Um, but in Texas, you're working at a restaurant doing something with wine and like, or doing something with wine. And I feel like you still need to like do that because it's not about not loving yourself. I feel like you love yourself. It's about finding the right community for you. It's about like being interactive in something that like you do where you're going to meet people, where people are again going to get to know you for who you are, and which is something a little bit different, where it's almost like I keep seeing you almost like in this like cheers, like type of environment where people get to know you. Yeah, that's why I'm saying it's like that you went to California for 2 weeks, had fun. Yes, yes, but it's like, but we were talking about you working at like a wine, something with wine, doing something with wine. You're gonna get a job doing that. Don't you remember that I told you that? And I not remember saying that you were like something with like pouring wine. I don't remember. Like I went and hung out with friends the week prior. No, that's, yes, those are things that you did, but this is not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about um, you doing something consecutively, like not once in a while. I hung out with friends last week, and then I went to California, which is all great things, but something that every week, or something that you put your time in every week. And I saw something with wine, and it's something with wine, like you pouring wine, you at a restaurant, you like doing something like in like your free time, something like that, or just hanging out at there, or something, or some like someone at a wine place, not a job at a wine, but meet, yeah, some, but you're there. I see you there. If it's not a job, but it's a regular place that you're at. Like you go there regularly. You begin to go there regularly. And I feel like you do wind up helping out. I don't know why. I see you pouring wine. It's like, and so you meet people. Relationships are something that happens over time. Trust is something that happens over time. This was not just a thing like where you just wanted to meet somebody. There was like a whole life. You're like, I want fun. I want that. It's like, and then what I was saying, that is what I saw you eventually doing. I don't know whether or not why you haven't started to like, go to places like that. And it's like if you have to go, it's like maybe you should get a little side hustle there because you wouldn't go. How else are you going to meet? Went to a wine place for an event a while back. I'll probably go again. I feel like you need to go. You need to be interactive in something regularly where you meet like regular people, meaning the same types of people, the same person, the same group of people, because it's those through those relationships. A lady does readings at a wine place. Well, again, I didn't feel like you doing readings at the wine place, but I felt like you would be hanging out there. You would be working there. You would be like helping out, like I said, there, a place that you regularly visit, like attend, like, and maybe because they have other things certain nights as well, but it's like a social thing where you then are able to meet. It's like, otherwise it's like you're like, how am I just going to meet somebody? It's like it doesn't happen like you're just going to meet somebody, like, because it doesn't. It's like you'll meet somebody, but will they be genuine? Will they be giving you the relationship that you want? No, relationships are something that happens over time, and that's what you've discovered for your own. So you don't have it like that, but you need, again, a social life. And the social life needs to be somewhere where you attend to regularly. And that's what I saw prior. And I don't remember reading. So if I'm remembering exactly what I told you last time, that's what it is. It's like otherwise nothing is happening. And that's because you're not making anything happen. It's like, and it's not so much like I need more healing, I need more healing, I need more healing. Sometimes it's I need more life, I need more experiences, I need to connect to more like people because I'm not really feeling like I am able to meet anyone. You know, I think that you'll take one of the ladies' classes. I think to take the classes are 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 good, but you want to meet like people of the opposite sex. So that's like that should come towards like I don't know. Would you? I don't think you'll probably yell at me, but I don't know. Would you ever consider like joining like a hiking group or like doing something outside like on the weekends? Like you want to meet people. I felt the wine bar is what you do. I don't even feel like you would do like that. Like it's like, nah, I don't want to go outside. It's too hot. It's too hot to to like what do I want to do? But it's when people are invested in their life and they're interactive every week, or even if it was once a month, you began to see the same people. Relationships happen because you met so and so and they had a brother and that brother had a breakup, and oh they you get hooked up that way. Or you're every week you're at the wine bar and the guy came in and he caught your eye, and then it's like but he was too shy to ask you that week. Then you came back 3 weeks later and there you were again. It's like that's how it happens. It's like you're like asking for some random person to like come out of the blue and be like, come into your job and say, Debbie, come with me. It doesn't happen that way. And, it happens when you're like pretty much having a love affair with yourself. And I say that because you're like, I just want that to work. And when you really want something, really want it, you wind up pushing it away. You wind up because there's a sense of, I need it, where we really don't need anything. So that's why you use a cane. So hiking is not happening. Yeah, I knew like because I felt like hiking and I was like, there's no way. But I'm feeling like we want to meet people of the opposite sex. So the wine bar thing has, it has an upstairs. Well, aren't there any other places around that do that? Like, I think that that's part of it. Like, you're like, I don't know where to go or what to do. And so, like, at that point, it's like you need to be able to go somewhere without friends just to go by yourself that's going to be comfortable for you. It's like, and there's the places that I'm sure that play music, that serve wine, that do other things. It's like, otherwise, it's like, because listen, really, relationships represent that second chakra, right? So it's again, when the second chakra is off, and that's your unique individuality, your purpose, your balance, your identity. So when there's fragmentation there and you're like, well, my relationships, I never get to see a relationship. Really, the relationship just symbolizes passion. That's what it does. It represents that. But then when you really need it, it's a lot of times, well, you've been in a desert. You haven't experienced passion in a long time. You haven't gotten that in a long time. So there's a sense of, I'm afraid I'll never get it. And so, but then we have to say, what's your life look like? And if I have to pick on you because you asked me what's going to happen, I'm going to say nothing's going to happen because you don't really do anything for that to happen. And then you have this belief there and it doesn't happen then. you attract then people that, like you said, are going to breadcrumb or do like not right by you, because you're in that energy of, I really want it to happen and I don't see it happening. If I just had that, that's what would fix my life. When really, Spirit says that's actually untrue. It's like if you fill your life with, you know, things that you're interested in, like your things that connect you to your identity, like things that like display your essence, right? That resonate with your essence. You're going to meet the right people. You're going to meet somebody because you're going to be real comfortable because you're in your element. You're going to connect to other like-minded people that are going to say, "Oh, I love Debbie." And you know what? I have a friend, George. He just broke up. He just had a spouse. Like his spouse died. Let me hook you up with him. It's like it happens that way. But you don't have experiences like that. And so you can never see that experience. So part of creating the experience is we have to embody the experience. We have to put ourselves in situations that are going to mirror back the experience that we want to have. And that's not going to happen with the life that you have. So that's the issue. You just feel meeting someone at a wine place. Well, that's the thing. It's like, I don't think that every single person that goes to like a wine place is like an alcoholic. I think like if the wine bar has music and there's a good like band that's coming, or like a good like event that's happening at that bar, because a lot of times people won't just have a wine bar. They usually have something going on at the wine bar. I mean, I'm sure that there are some wine bars that are just wine bar, but usually there's music or there's that gets people to come out to actually sit at the wine bar. So that's why they're going. It's like, oh, why are you here? Oh, I like this band. Or I like to play Monopoly. I like to play board game, whatever is going on at that. And so again, it's the essence of who you are, like the things that you enjoy to do, the things that you like. You're supposed to get so lost and engrossed in that, then it just happens because you're in a high vibe. You're not even looking for it. And so you're then able to see, and there's just more opportunities because people got to know you and they're like, I like this person. It's like, and I would like to go out on double dates with this person, or I would like to be able to like, do things with them. And it's like, and I also know somebody else, and that like that's how it happens. It doesn't happen any other way because you've gone through experiences that already like it didn't work, and you're a little bit nervous, and but like I said, you have to live as if you are going to kind of be by yourself. And like, let's just say you never met anybody and you're living by yourself, like, and really having a great time with yourself. Then it doesn't matter whether you met somebody or not, but it's usually then that you meet somebody, but you're meeting them because, like you said, you have common interests. There's a reason why that person wants to talk to you. Because remember, as we get older, a lot of times people have already been married, they've already gone through a divorce or two, and they're like already like a little bit like, is this really what I want? So unless you have a lot in common and you really enjoy each other's company, and you wouldn't know because people don't like to put in enough time. And it's like, and so you're like, how do I get a person to actually give me the time to get to know me? And that's only through common interests. And if a person doesn't want to do anything with you, or there's no common interest, or there's no anything, it's not going to work. You're not equally yoked, it's like, and then you don't need it. So that's why I'm saying it's not that you can have it. It's just my fear is you attracting not the right type of person, or someone that doesn't put in enough energy. And that would be because spirit would say, well, you're not putting in enough energy. It's like you go to work and then you come home. And then, so how is it going to happen? So it's actually having to do it. It's like we're no longer, 19, 20 years old, where you're going out and you're meeting people and they're just coming up to you. Like a lot of people have their baggage. They're comfortable by themselves, or they think that they're comfortable by themselves. So you want to not wind up with someone like that either, where it's like, oh, we never do anything. It's like I'm with them and they're just kind of like a blob. It's like, no, you want, you want to be with someone that like enhances your life, because you have common interests. It's a lot of fun. You're doing things and you're creating memories. Not That's how they enhance your life. Not They don't have to do anything, but they have to participate. Otherwise, you're getting a person that wants you to do everything in the relationship, because they didn't really care whether they were in the relationship or not, and you don't want that. It's, again, that'll put you back into the childhood wounds of feeling like, well, this is love that I get. So, like, it goes back to that too. Like, and we've talked about that your how you were raised, and like not having a very secure relationship with your dad, and how he didn't make you really feel loved. And so having that trauma and then all the other experiences that were in alignment with that same experience, that core relationship, you have to say, what do I keep doing? What can I do differently? And that's what you have to do differently. And so that's why you're like, oh, it's taking so long, because you have to figure it out. It's like, and that it's uncomfortable. It's like, I don't really feel like doing all that. It's like, and no one really does. But Spirit says that, but look what you're saying. I don't really feel like investing in myself. I just expect for someone to come in magically and like want to build a life with me. And that's not the way that it works, and that's why I say he worked a split shift. Yeah, well, I mean, it's not saying that he didn't love you, Debbie. And what it meant was, it's, again, you didn't feel loved. You didn't feel, because his life was hard. It doesn't matter the reason. It's that you don't want to bind yourself to those same experiences. A lot of times people recreate the same experience that they've experienced, and not really because they wanted to. It goes back to what you're used to, and what you've been programmed to do. And so part of like being really interactive in your life, you create new habits. Your wants, your needs, your desires change. You no longer are going to be a people pleasing. You no longer abandon your needs. You no longer have the need to explain yourself. There, you become a different person, which is why that happens. It's like our relationships mainly are to teach us, and when there's a lack of relationship, that's also teaching us something also. And that's, again, a feeling like I'm cut off. I don't really have that connection, where really it's like everybody can have that connection, but they just have to make the time for it. And it's hard. I get it, because you're like, I work full time. It's like, then I have to go home and cook and clean and do everything that I have to do. It's like you have to make time for it. So from your mom. So then it was your mom. I just remember you saying that one of your parents was that parent that didn't make you feel secure, that didn't give you the love, that didn't make you feel like secure. And that seems to be the energy that continues to play out. That's the karmic theme. So it doesn't really matter whether it was mother or father, it's the karmic theme that you're like, I haven't really seen it. I can't really have it. It's like when Spirit's saying, you have to do something different. It's like you have to reparent yourself, especially if your mother wasn't really nurturing. You have to nurture yourself. If you weren't really encouraged to join things and you don't have a good self-esteem because of that, you have to do it. Yes, you gave a dog. I don't understand. Like, you got a dog? Did you get a dog? And that makes you like, I don't understand. Like, but that's having a dog like is definitely helpful. Like when you like didn't get that love that dogs give unconditional love. But that's what I feel like you need to do. I feel like you need to like just be more interactive in your life. And it's going to take more than one time because, you might go out like once or twice or a few times. She wasn't nurturing, but always there for you. Yeah, well, that's the thing. It's like whatever that trauma was, like that you experienced where you didn't feel like, because I seem to remember you also telling me that your dad wasn't as around, like also that there was something with your dad also. So it's not a blame game, but you have to understand like you were wired a certain way, and those patterns followed you into other relationships, and those relationships were not good relationships. And so it's about doing things differently. It's just that simple. It's like it doesn't seem simple because it's like, well, where do I start, where do I go? And but it just starts with what you would want to like learn or know, what stirs up your soul, what are you interested in. Again, what do you want to do? You like music, you would go to like a wine bar, like I said, to listen to music. Or I wouldn't even say like a bar, because bars are like not, like it's not really the environment. But somewhere like that is more quiet, it's more intimate, you can get to know people. It's be just like I said, being interactive in life. Yes, because he worked a lot. So it was like he wasn't there, because I remember you saying there was something with your dad. And so imagine your dad worked all the time, though he loved you. And then your mom wasn't very nurturing. And then your relationships, they weren't good. And so it's almost like now life is just work and home and a few friends, and so you understand what's missing. It's that. So, and you already know what you like. So when you feed those things that you like, it's a no brainer. Life opens up. It's like it does, but you have to be consistent. And that's why I said you have to join something that you really like. Otherwise, who the hell's going to be consistent? No one's consistent in things that they're like, it's okay. It's like it's like when you really love a band or you really love music and you really love it, then it's like you make time. You find the time. That's the whole point. It's like you don't have anything like that in your life. And that's what needs to change. And once that changes, you're going to meet somebody, because it's like now you have something to talk about. It's in common. It's a relationship, something that happens over time. The next time the band plays, the next time a good band plays, that person shows back up, you're back there. It's like, and it unfolds like that. It's like that's how it's going to happen for you. I told you, it's not going to happen any other way. But you have to go out and you have to find that place, and that might be uncomfortable for you. So you have to ask yourself, why haven't I done it? Maybe you get overstimulated. Maybe your self-esteem. So it's those things that need to be also be worked on, so that you don't it doesn't stop you, and that might be doing breath work or a little bit of tapping before you go out, to like be like, okay, like I have a little anxiety. That's why I really haven't gone out. It's like, or I've changed my clothes 12 times to get the right outfit. I have anxiety. Like you'll notice, like if you have anxiety, and understand if that's the case, and you're not really 100% comfortable, then you also have to watch the energy that comes to you, because you're not really in the best of energy. So you have to get to a place that's, remember, least resistant, which is I'm so relaxed. I can go with the flow of the situation. I don't need to I don't care whether I have it or not. That's why I said it really has to be something that you love. This way you'll be consistent. All right. I'm going to take off. I don't know if anyone else was there. Britt, I don't know if Britt fell off. I hope that that was helpful for her. So, how do you wire yourself and transmute the energy to change things, like you say? Well, to rewire yourself, you would have to. I'm just going to answer this question. So, when I say to rewire yourself, you have to rewire your nervous system. And that would be like, you have to say, well, what's bothering you the most out of the situation? What's bothering you the most is, hey, I feel like they don't want me there. I feel like they say things or they do things. So you have to be able to be strong enough to block it out and not give a shit. And that, the only way that that would happen is have a ton of other friends, have other things to focus on, have a big support group, and then that's the only way, because your support is, well, I'm not alone. Like, so, and if things get rough for me, I don't have to stay here. I know that I have a place to stay, and while I'm dealing with this, you rewire your nervous system through doing the challenges. That's more, again, body work. It's like, because by the time that, you have to rewire your nervous system, you've been programmed. And that's what the whole live stream was about tonight, which was, and the other day too. And everything about the attachment rewiring challenge is about rewiring the nervous system. So if you're, you know, in a situation that making you feel uncomfortable, it's to say, what is my default? And if your default usually is to be a people pleaser, or to just like give in, or whatever it is, then, which is not what you're doing. You're like, no, I stood up for myself. No, I did this. But then you have to realize that there's going to be consequences. And really, before you did everything, you should have like had a little plan in place, knowing that you're going to piss people off. They're going to piss you off. And the more that you do something, what you pretty much told me tonight is that they're going to do worse by you. That's what you pretty much said, because you're like, I complained and then my neighbor killed my cat, and now my tribe is throwing me out of the house. So it's like things got worse because you stuck up for yourself. So that's like, listen, that happens in so many situations to people, whether it's childhood abuse, you stick up for yourself and you say something, again, there's consequences. You stick up for yourself if you belong to a club, let's just say, and that club has certain rules, and they decide to not obey the rules or look the other way, and then you say something, you're going against the majority, and life isn't fair. So it's not so much but that you shouldn't stick up for yourself, but you have to have discernment on how you're going to do that, and you didn't do that. And that's why it's like you're in a situation now, and you're like, well, how do you do it? Well, you can try and rewire yourself, but to rewire yourself in a toxic environment is like pretty much like trying to swim upstream, because you're overstimulated and you're trying to rewire yourself. So it's like you'd have to get out of that environment, and then rewire yourself. But if you can't, then I would say, what's my support group? Like, where are my friends, my other friends? And you might say, well, I don't have any. And then it's like, okay, so then you don't have any friends. You don't, and your tribe, because you stood up for yourself and went against the tribe, they don't want you there. So you're going against a bunch of people. So that's, like I said, you're giving me an impossible situation, nothing to work with, and you have to see that, because like I said, it's not like you can rewire yourself, but you wouldn't be able to stay in that situation. It's like trying to rewire yourself around a narcissist. It's not going to work, because you're hyper vigilant, you're nervous, you're like, you've been conditioned. You got to get out of the situation. So, like, I know that that's not much help, because you're saying I need the money first, but then I would say, what can you sell? Like, it depends on, like, how uncomfortable are you? Because if you're really uncomfortable, you're going to say, I'd rather sell my shit and live and move into like a 1 bedroom, or a friend, like move in with a friend and pay them rent while I'm going through this, and maybe not give up my apartment. And that I might have to work double shift in order to do it. Like, sometimes that's what it takes. And is it unfair? Yes, it's unfair. But guess what? You may meet somebody while you're there that offers you a job, or offers you another apartment, or never know the experiences that we are put into, that we're like, oh shit, I really didn't want to do this. And I kind of feel bummed out that I have to do it. But if you do it, it usually leads to your answer of what you need to do. It's like, what's coming to mind is one time I left a job, and I left a job because they wouldn't change my hours. And I wound up getting this other job that it was like I had to work like twice as many hours. I had to do, like, it was not an opportunity that I really wanted, but I had to take it. But it led me to meeting my husband. It led me to becoming better at my craft. It led me, like, there were so many benefits that came from that experience, because perseverance will always bring you to new experiences. But it doesn't mean that you're not going to be uncomfortable. It usually means, hey, you're going to be uncomfortable because growth is required, because hey, you're in this situation that you don't really know how to get out of, and you don't really know how you got yourself into it. I'm telling you how you got yourself into it, and I'm telling you how to get out of it. But it's not going to be a solution that you want to hear, because it's like, that's like twice as much work that I have to do, and I'm already tired. And Spirit says, well, that's what it is. I wish that it wasn't, but that's a lot of times what it is. And so sometimes the message is to, again, you can stick up for yourself, but before you do, you have to know the consequences. You have to know who you're dealing with, and make sure that you have a backup plan. Because, like, obviously, the Native American tribe, they don't screw around. Everybody knows that. And so you saying, I don't like this person, when that whoever they've agreed to let back into that tribe, they consider family. They're going to be like, you're the outcast. When you're like, I'm the outcast, I didn't do anything, I just want to be safe. It doesn't matter. It's a loyalty thing for them. And so, again, knowing who you're dealing with and having a backup plan. But that's the only advice that I have for that. I'm sorry that you're going through it. And Debbie, go out. All right, I'm gonna go. I'll talk to you guys.